I'm Sahana Dharmapuri. I'm the director of Our Secure Future with the Women, Peace, and Security program of the One Earth Future Foundation. And it's really my pleasure to welcome you to the celebration of the launch of the Women, Peace, and Security Caucus tonight. First, I'd like to start with great appreciation to thank everyone in this room and those who couldn't come tonight. Especially, I want to recognize civil society, senior officials from the State Department, Department of Defense, members of the diplomatic corps that are here with us tonight, and the private sector. Your presence collectively shows us that it really does take all of us to move this issue forward. Before I turn the mic over to our new co-chairs of the new Women, Peace, and Security Caucus, I would like to make just a few remarks. As you know, 2020 is a super year for women. It is the anniversary of the Beijing Women's Conference. It's also the anniversary of women's suffrage in the United States, and it happens to be the 20th anniversary of the Women, Peace, and Security Agenda. Not so long ago, in 2017, the US government took an important step towards involving women in decision-making on matters of war and peace. By signing into law the Women, Peace, and Security Act, the US government made clear that the meaningful participation of women in preventing, resolving, and rebuilding after conflict is a US foreign policy priority. The Women, Peace, and Security Caucus will work to ensure that those policy goals enshrined in the Women, Peace, and Security Act and in the UN Security Council Resolution 1325 are considered national security and policy priorities for the United States. The Women, Peace, and Security Caucus provides an opportunity and a platform for civil society, the executive branch, and Congress to work together to push this critical agenda forward. I would say there is really no question that we live in challenging times and that we all need to find hope and inspiration to keep us going. But as my mentor has told me, if we cannot find hope, it is time to create some. I believe that the co-chairs Frankel and Representative Walz are helping us to do that. As co-chairs of this new caucus, they're demonstrating the best of American leadership with their commitment to women, peace, and security. This is an extraordinary mission. Everyone in this room has an important role to play in its success. I'd like to welcome the co-chairs to now say a few words to inaugurate the caucus. They both have shown extraordinary commitment for many years. Just a brief bio for both. I'm sure you know much more about them than I'm sharing right now, but Representative Frankel has co-chaired the Women's Caucus and has actively championed women's rights throughout her career. And Representative Walz has served our country, seen conflict firsthand, and witnessed how women can help to mitigate it. So I'd like to welcome Representative Frankel. Thank you.
Thank you for your good work and One Earth Future. And everybody who's here, you're talking about hope. I have a lot of hope seeing all the people in this room. Thank you so much. Just try to keep your distance from each other. Okay. Mike, come up and stand here with me. You know, Mike and I, we're both from Florida, aren't we?
That's right.
I'd say, yeah, of course. So here's the thing. First of all, it's so great to be co-chairing this with you. You know, Mike and I, we're both from Florida, but I don't really know him that well, except I got to know him one day recently on the floor of the House. We were debating a bill called Keep Girls in School. Did you bring your daughter that day?
I did.
Yes.
And 16.
He brought his daughter.
She was very happy.
And he was so eloquent. And I was really I have to say, I was just pleasantly surprised. It was really terrific. And then the funniest thing happened that you don't know is after he introduced his daughter, I was actually in the chair and the parliamentarian said to me, you have to tell them they're not allowed to introduce guests. Did you know that?
I saw,
and I said, forget that. I said, no, go on. But you know, Mike, our debate that day just reminded me of a story because my son Ben, he's fine, he's good. My son Ben was a captain in the United States Marines, and he served both in Afghanistan and Iraq, came home safe. He also served in USAID. Thank you, I know there's some people from here from USAID. But on one of my trips, actually it was with CARE, they said, you can bring your child with you. So I brought my child. Well, he's a grown man. But we went to Africa, Mike, and in one of the small villages where one of the young girls was telling us that she was afraid to go to school because she was afraid of violence. And, I remember my son saying to me, you know what, I'd rather see us starting investing in these girls than having to be investing in our military, right? So this is really, I diverge a little bit, women, peace, and security, because I look at the whole picture, and it really comes down to this for me. When girls and women are successful, when they have access to education, when they have access to healthcare, when they have access to economic opportunity, their communities are clearly more peaceful and more prosperous. And so I want to thank all of you that works on those kinds of issues. I know there's been quite a bit of research that in terms of the peace and security issue, about women as victims, about women as perpetrators, as women really sort of as peacekeepers. And we know when they're at the peace table, the likelihood of a treaty working out is much higher. Which comes us, and I hope, Mike, you might say a few words about this too, to what's happening in Afghanistan, which I think probably everybody in this room is worried about. And I want to tell you something, the concern is bipartisan. Because we had a hearing last week, I don't even remember who it was with, but it was on the budget. Maybe it was someone from, probably Mark Green or somebody from USAID, where we were talking about, all of us at the table, we're talking about the failure so far to have women at the peace table and the real concern that all the advances we might have made, especially in girls' education, was going to go out the window with the Taliban taking back control of Afghanistan. And I think that is something that we cannot let happen. Hopefully we'll be able to put together enough of a pressure on our State Department to make sure that that doesn't happen. I know we'll have, Secretary Pompeo was supposed to be in front of appropriations tomorrow. I think he's coming in next week. You can be sure, myself, who's a lady from Alabama?
Martha Roby.
Oh, Martha Roby.
Yep.
That we'll all be questioning him about that. So I'm going to turn this over to Mike, but before I do that, I wanted to say that I hope our next meeting will be soon. We can maybe have a roundtable discussion. I would love to hear from all of you. And I want to have an open invitation to any of you here to come to see me in my office. I'm sure, Mike, I'm inviting them to your office also.
All right, come on.
And maybe we could have some joint
We'll all
meetings.
come down to your office.
Or we can
so
have a very nice office.
Probably bigger.
Okay, nice office in Rayburn. And just because I would like to know, I'm preaching to the choir here, but I would love to hear your ideas, how we can advance all these issues that you're working on today. Again, thank you for hosting us.
Thank you.
And I turn it over, I yield to my co-chair.
Thanks, Lois. So this, obviously this caucus stems from the 2017 Women, Peace, and Security Act. I think our job, and a huge job of the caucus, is to have oversight of that implementation. I think it's a huge victory that the law was passed, but now the devil's in the details, and we need to get it. We need to see those details. I think one thing that's worth noting: in 2019, the administration established the Women's Global Development and Prosperity, the WGDP initiative, which Ivanka Trump is really quarterbacking and leading. And then in June of last year, the White House. Right, I know. In June of 19, I think it's fantastic that, Lois, that you're working with her.
Yes.
No, that this really is a bipartisan issue. Release the national strategy. I just want to share with you, for me, how personal this is. I've seen this issue firsthand all over the world. As a Green Beret, I've served all over West Africa, from Niger to Nigeria to Senegal, all the way over to South Asia and Afghanistan. I've seen a girls' school machine gunned with the girls in it by the Taliban. I have on the cover of my book, not me kicking indoors or jumping out of black helicopters, but me giving out supplies to school children. Why? They're all sitting outside, by the way, because their school was burnt down 3 times. And we rebuilt it 3 times, thank you, USAID. But why? Because they were teaching girls. So to me, girls' education and women's empowerment gets to the heart of extremism. It pulls the rug out from under it. It's the secret weapon. And I'll just tell you a quick story, which I didn't have time to tell on the floor before you gavelled me out. But but for me, this really came home.
Fighting for you.
I know you were. I know. You were resisting with the gavel. But for me, this came home with an elder that I became very close with in Eastern Afghanistan by the name of Ghaforzai. And as I developed the relationship over a lot of tea and a lot of lamb and goat, I mean, my tea turned brown, I think, from drinking so much with this man. But every single meeting, he kept talking about his secret weapon and, oh, Commander Mike, we have my secret weapon. We're going to defeat the Taliban. And I didn't know what the heck. I didn't know if he had surface-to-air missiles or special landmines. I'm like, I'm going to get court-martialed over working with this guy. And finally, after about the 10th time he mentioned his secret weapon, I said, time out. All right, no more meetings, no more support. Forsyth, you've got to show me this thing, or kind of we're done. And he said, okay, Commander Mike, calm down. And he sent his lieutenant in the back. He said, I'll show you my secret weapon. And I hear a lot of rustling in the back. And he brought out, you know what it was? It was his daughters.
Oh, that's nice.
And they both came out uncovered in one of the most conservative parts of the country, teenage girls that he was sneaking off to India to be educated as a doctor and lawyer. And he said, this is the secret weapon. This is how we defeat the extremists. So, not to be catchphrasy, but it is so true. Everywhere I've seen that where women thrive in business and politics and in society, and certainly in global militaries, the extremists don't. I mean, it's really, in many, not to be sophomoric, but it is many ways that simple. So for me, we are doing a lot of great humanitarian and development work, but we have to get it out of kind of the feel-good development world and also into the national security world, because it is a national security issue, and we are going to fight these wars, whether we like them or not. And you name the battlefield, Yemen, Syria, Afghanistan, but the broader strategy against the ideology of extremism is what we need, and this is a critical component. That is not an easy case to make back home. That is kind of a no-brainer here in the Washington bubble. I'm seeing a lot of heads nodding. But I have to tell you, when we go back home and I'm in front of a town hall and you have people there whose daughters are going to underprivileged schools, who are hitting potholes in the road to make the case for this money to be spent abroad, is not always easy. But when you draw the connection that where girls thrive, it makes us safer. And that's what takes leadership. That is what I am certainly willing to step up as your partner in crime in this and do. And I just have to tell you, as a single dad and as the son of a single mom, I'm proud to lead with you on this one. And I look forward to getting some stuff done.
Thank you, Mike.
All right. God bless. All right. Good.
Thank you both. I think we should give them another round of applause for their leadership on this issue. We're so excited. We're so excited to have you. Now I'd like to welcome Ambassador Kelly Curry from the State Department's Women's Office. As many of you know, she has served as the U.S. Ambassador to ECOSOC. Ambassador Curry was appointed as Ambassador at Large for Global Women's Issues by President Trump in December 2019. And she serves simultaneously as the U.S. representative at the United Nations Commission on the Status of Women. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. It's such a pleasure to be here. And I really want to thank our co-chairs for launching this important caucus and for gathering us together for this important purpose today. In a town where we can find a way to fight about just about anything, to see the kind of strong and deep, not just superficial, but really the depth of the bipartisan support that we have around this issue, as well as the work that we're doing together on WGDP with the White House. And I want to extend a special thanks to Congresswoman Frankel, and I know there's some other, together with 3 other members, introducing new legislation on WGDP. This is to see that I told the secretary last week that I have the best job, because I may have one of the only jobs in town where just about everything I work on, just about, enjoys such wonderful bipartisan support. So I consider myself very fortunate to work on these issues, and I really appreciate the vision that comes from that inspire and the leadership that I'm seeing from our friends in our separate and co-equal branch of government here on the Hill on this issue. And when I see how both of you and your other colleagues here on the Hill are working to support women and girls, it gives me a lot of energy to do the work that we have to do at the State Department on this. And I know with such strong leadership, this caucus is going to be a resounding success, and I look forward to partnering with you as you go forward. This is such an important place for us to bring together civil society, Congress, the administration, to work on these issues. And I see all around the room a range of stakeholders from both sides of the aisle, from across the ideological spectrum. I see old friends and people who I've worked with for decades on some of these issues. And so it's really nice to be here and enjoying the good feeling that we have. But the reason that we have this whole agenda is because we have a lot of really hard work and tough issues to tackle. And as you've noted, we're marking the 20th anniversary of UNSCR 1325, the Women, Peace, and Security Agenda, in the Security Council this year. And so this is a really timely event for us. When Congress passed the Women, Peace, and Security Act in 2017, it was a landmark achievement. No other country in the world had passed a comprehensive standalone piece of legislation enshrining the Women, Peace, and Security agenda into it. And so when I was up at the UN, it used to give me a lot of pleasure to talk about women, peace, and security and look around at my European colleagues and gloat just a little bit that we were ahead of them on a women's issue, because, they always think that they're so whatever. And so it was really great to be in the lead on this. And so I'm really proud that we continue to be in the lead with this, the White House's Women, Peace, and Security strategy that was rolled out last year. And now as we're preparing to send our departmental Women, Peace, and Security implementation plans up through the White House in the coming days. We're really excited about the work that we're doing at the department and with our colleagues in other departments at Defense, Homeland Security, and USAID to implement this. And I think that we're going to make your oversight job very easy, because we're working really hard to do all the things that you're asking us to do. And I really feel like we have great leadership from the White House, from the Secretary, in our department, and we're excited about how we have done this great bottom-up and top-down and sideways and back and forth review all across the department to motivate everybody. And I want to really take a moment to give a shout out to some of my team members who are here, and former team member who is on leave from us right now on the Hill, who worked on this process to help us develop our plan. And I really am fortunate to have a great team. And we're looking forward to how we're going to develop the synergies that are going to allow us to keep working together on this. This week, when you were talking about Afghanistan and about the secret weapon, we have our own secret weapon, and it's our International Women of Courage Award. It's actually not very secret, because we have a big ceremony every year, and it's done with the Secretary and the First Lady, so it's probably not at all a secret, actually, now that I think about it. But we did this last week, and one of our nominees, and the one who actually spoke at the ceremony, is a 26-year-old mayor from Wardak province in Afghanistan. She was appointed mayor. She was the first woman mayor in Afghanistan, and I've never felt more like an underachiever in my life than meeting this 26-year-old woman who had survived 4 assassination attempts just trying to get to do her job every day and be the mayor of this town in Afghanistan. She's one of the toughest people I've ever met. She's remarkable. She spoke about how much it means to her what the United States has done to help fight the Taliban in her country and give her a future and give women and girls in her country a future, and how important it is that we maintain our support for that. And I don't think there was a dry eye in the house after she finished talking about what it meant for the commitment that we've made and how important it is to preserve it. So she's a really remarkable person. I also want to say that one of the things that is really, as I talked about how Congresswoman Frankel is supporting our WGDP initiative as well, and we're working on that in a bipartisan way. We are doing everything we can to make sure that these two things are mutually reinforcing and locked together in lockstep, because as the co-chairs have noted, you can't do these things in isolation. They have to be done together. And these are the cornerstones of our office's work, and they are cornerstones of our national security strategy and our foreign policy. And it's not just because they are feel-good things or because they sound nice to do or they make us look good, or even because they're the right thing to do. We are doing these things because they are the smart thing to do. And because by advancing these commitments, we are protecting our people here in this country by making the world a safer place. So I want to thank everybody again, and especially thank our co-chairs for their good work on this, and look forward to continuing to work together on this. Thank you very much.
Well, I know that there are votes on the floor today, so I'm going to keep this short and sweet. I just want to say thanks again to everyone for coming and for this very warm reception. Thank you so much to our co-chairs for showing your leadership. Thank you to Ambassador Curry for your remarks. I really think by raising awareness on women, peace, and security, this caucus is going to help elevate the U.S.'s leadership role in advancing women's rights globally. And I really love that we have this bipartisan leadership, because this is not a partisan issue. It's about creating a just and equitable world where both men and women have agency and decision-making power. So on behalf of One Earth Future and Our Secure Future, I'd really like to again thank Representative Michael Waltz and Lois Frankel for your leadership in co-sponsoring this caucus. Without you, this engine would not be moving forward. It really gives us so much hope. Yes, yes. And I would also like to recognize Hans Hograth, who is going to be our new congressional fellow. Hans, can he's back. And please get a chance to talk to him. So thanks again to everyone, civil society, representatives of private sector, DOD, State Department, USAID. Such a wonderful thing to see everyone in this room and all the stakeholders really committed to this issue.